Another week in Footballland.
Yes, I love your enthusiasm, Anthony.
That is big.
You could make staring at soil sound like it's a massive carnival of brilliance.
How was your time in the toilet last week, Mark? Speaking of soil.
Have you seen The Great Escape with Steve McClaren?
Yeah.
So I didn't have a baseball or a baseball glove, but I just chucked my phone against the wall, and I got really good. I mean, they're not naturally bouncy.
Did you have a motorbike?
There's not room for a motorbike in our toilet.
How did you get out?
Turns out the lock, it wasn't locked, it was just stiff, really stiff. You have to sort of lift the door as you open the handle. So
you know, a lot of people listening to this live in America where no house is older than 1997.
But they're still made of wood in the US. What's that all about? It's modern times. We don't build houses out of wood.
It's weird because they've got termites.
How is this sort of relevant to Mark being stuck in a toilet?
Because in America, bathrooms are bigger. You could get a motorbike in a bathroom because all of them, since 1997, the highways management, there was a big lobbying industry for bigger bathrooms by the Harley Davidson crew, the Hells bikers.
Yeah.
As a result, every bathroom has a motorbike.
It has to be big enough to fit a motorbike. But also, if I was stuck in a downstairs toilet in America, because it's just made of wood, I could have just punched my way out.
Yeah.
That's why they never understand The Great Escape. Why wouldn't you just punch your way out, they say, American audiences. And that's why they don't understand the Second World War.
That's kind of their answer for everything, isn't it?
Well, let's get on with it. So we're building a massive football theme park. That is the premise. We've got $1 billion, so money's not an issue, although if you want to sign up to our Patreon, you can give us like an extra £3, which does actually go quite a long way.
It does.
But 3 ideas this week. Ryan, what's your idea?
My idea is called Golden Hands Solo, A Final Hope.
Okay. And my idea is Round the World in 80 Schteves. So, before we get into those, right, as is tradition, we listen to an advert that Mark has made for a previously pitched ride.
Yeah, tradition and good business practice, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, it's good for the marketing department. Mark, what's your idea? What's your advert?
It's an advert not for a ride, but for one of the facilities within Footballland. It's an advert that promotes the restaurant Ascoffiation Noshball.
Let's have a listen.
Do you like food?
Yes.
Do you like football?
Hell yes.
Do you like football food?
What now?
Ascoffiation Noshball.
Scoffing. Scoffing bums?
No, not scoffing bums. No, this is a restaurant that lets you sample the entire history of footballing nutrition.
Sounds brilliant.
Egg and sherry from the 1950s.
Yum.
Venison stuffed with peasant as a half-time snack in 1890.
Yum, yum.
Mustard gas bagels from the Great War.
Yum, yum, yum. That's a yum hat trick.
No, guys, it's sadder than that. Let's respect the fallen.
Oh, yeah. Yum, yum, yum. That's a yum hat trick, yeah.
Lager, steak and pies from the 1970s.
Yum, 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 yum.
1990s Pizzagate.
I don't know what that would be in a restaurant context, but yum, 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 yum!
Come dine with us at Ascoffiation Noshball. Turn up and nosh your balls off.
Thank you, Mark. What a wonderful advert. I'm salivating in the mouth, but let's get into the meat and drink.
Oh, nice.
Shut up.
That is so
no,
good.
Shut up.
No, you shut up.
Let's
confused.
get on with our 3 ride ideas. Okay, number 1 is Anthony Richardson's Round the World in 80 Schteves. You're thinking to yourself, Steve or Steve? Why does he keep mispronouncing that? But you might already be ahead of me. I'm talking Steve McClaren. Now, Steve McClaren, of course, he is a fantastic manager on paper, but he's more famous, you might say, for his range of accents. He's gone to Germany, he's gone to Holland, and he's mastered the lingo by doing what many people of English nationality do when they travel abroad, go into a patisserie, boulangerie, whatever, is say the words in English, but in a slightly foreign accent. So Steve McClaren has mastered that at his press conferences, of course. He's done Dutch, he's done German. But I think we're missing a trick here with Steve. I think that the public want to hear him do more accents. And that's why I'm proposing Round the World in 80 Schteves. You're familiar, of course, with Round the World in 80 Days, Phileas Fogg, the Jules Verne novel, where Phileas Fogg, who was very rich, much like Steve McClaren, had to win a bet, someone bet him that you couldn't travel around the world in 80 days. He did it. We're going to bring our first betting ride into Footballland, okay? It's a betting ride, and I don't think there's a betting ride that exists in any theme park in the world. You pay £5 as your bet, or dollars, or whatever it is in Qatar.
Footballland coins?
Yes, Footballland coins. 5 Footballland coins, all with the face of... maybe they're the Queen's nose coins we had before.
They've got the face of Gary Mabbott.
And you've got the chance to double your coins to spend in the Steve McClaren gift shop at the end. How do you win those coins? Well, it's quite simple. You get in a balloon and you travel around a giant model village, okay?
Ooh.
And this model village is set into 80 distinct model village toy town countries, all real countries. You've got France, you've got Italy. They're quite easy ones. And then you've got tough countries, Swaziland, Lesotho, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, Madagascar. Okay, you've got 80 countries, all with their famous landmarks. Kiribati, all with their famous David Batty, Kiribati, Kieran Batty and David Batty. Kiribati is his daughter. They had a Batty. You travel around in this balloon, you go to each zone, and Steve McClaren is waiting there. It's a mannequin with his face projected onto it, okay? So we get to Steve McClaren.
It's not Steve McClaren, right?
It's Steve McClaren in a green screen studio for 2 days. We've booked him for 2 days, and we've asked him to give us 80 different accents, 80 different country greetings as he would think it to be. Plus, we ask Steve McClaren to dress up in 80 different stereotypical national dresses. Not dresses as in skirts, but like, lederhosen or whatever.
Well, in Hawaii, it would be a skirt.
Then you travel to, say, France. You meet Steve McClaren. He says a phrase, and then you've got to guess what country he is in.
So he's standing in a model village bit of France. So he's wearing a striped T-shirt, standing next to the Eiffel Tower.
Exactly.
And you've got to guess which country. That's easy. It's way too easy.
No, it's not easy, mate, because I refer you to Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. The first few questions are dead easy, but then it gets harder. So France, Italy, Germany, Holland, they're the first 4 countries. Fine. America, 5. Canada, bit difficult, but he's got a moose, okay? So it's not that hard. And then you start getting to Mexico, and that's where, admittedly, the problems start happening with Steve McClaren's accent could potentially get quite offensive. But that's the game, and that's what's going to draw the crowds. People are going to be interested in what Steve McClaren deems to be the accent of, say, Turkey, of, say, Lebanon, of, say, Algeria, Japan.
He's not going to go to the Indian subcontinent, is he?
He's going to all of them. Sri Lanka.
My word.
He's going to India. He's going to Pakistan. He's going to Nepal. He's dressed as a Sherpa. And if you win all 80 countries, bearing in mind you're going to get to the 80th, as we say, Kiribati, and it's just got David Batty with his daughter.
Yeah. You
can win your Footballland coins. So you can double that up to 10 coins. You go into the gift shop. What's on sale for 10 coins? It's a Rosetta Stone course narrated by Steve McClaren with a foreword by Joey Barton.
Hot air balloons are notoriously hard to control. How do we get the punters to hover at the correct distance such that they can hear the attempt at an accent from Steve McClaren, but they're not so close that they're wiping out the Eiffel Tower bits or the taller buildings in Saudi Arabia model?
I've got 2 options for you, okay?
Yep.
I think we trial the greatest balloon pilots in the world.
Yeah.
The other option, guys, is we create a big sphere with a magnetic core.
Ooh.
And we put steel boots on each Steve McClaren mannequin, and it sticks to the world. So the balloon stays stationary and the globe spins, and then it spins really quickly, and then it randomly stops on, say, France. But obviously it's predetermined by us because the game needs to start easy and get difficult.
That's nice. That introduces a thrill aspect. If the world is spinning really fast, then if you just look down from your basket, you're going to feel like you're going really fast, even though you're stationary. That's good. I like that a lot.
That can cause motion sickness because when people think they're moving but they're not, they can actually are susceptible to motion sickness. So as long as we make the world wipe clean, so that if everyone does vomit onto the world, then we just have of, a janitor.
Yeah, can hose it down. It's a bit like rain.
Maybe we give bonus marks if someone's actually sick on a Steve McClaren.
Yeah, I mean, pigeons poo on landmarks, don't they? So why can't people vomit on landmarks?
Yeah.
If you vomit on a statue, I mean, like, imagine you have a family of 4, okay? So you've got 4 people in the basket. You've got the dad and the mum. They're keen on their geography, but you've got Doris in her 70s. She's there as well. She's a bit prone to motion sickness, and she's not really hot on her geography, but she's bloody good at projectile vomiting. She should be rewarded. People have different skill sets, and maybe if she vomits on a statue, it should stay there for the rest of the day, and she gets put on a leaderboard.
I slightly worry with that. I mean, it's a good idea, and you're right to reward different skill sets, but I slightly worry if Doris is, she's what, in her 80s, 90s, if 70s. She remembers the Blitz, then is she going to treat Around the World in 80 Steves as revenge bombing runs? Is she going to want to keep going back to, can we just fly over Dresden one more time?
It's for different nationalities, though. Everyone of every different country is going to go to Footballland. So you'll have Doris attacking Dresden, but you'll have Angela, who is German. I couldn't think of any other German name.
Oh, gosh.
And she'll be attacking, London landmarks. You'll also have a Russian lady.
I think we should have a age restriction on this. I think if we're letting people in... We should do background checks on people. If they've been involved in a war, then no. And we should check people's internet histories as well.
I don't want to get all hippified on you, but if we check for which countries have not been in a war recently, then no one will be allowed on this ride.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to restrict it, but don't forget, this is only for the people who have motion sickness.
It could just be there to sort of service the Swiss patrons of the park.
Harsh but fair. But anyway, I think that is Round the World in 80 Steves, and don't forget, it's the first betting ride of its kind.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to hearing Steve have a bash at one of the throat clicky ones from Africa. That is going to be top diplomacy from Steve.
Let's have a vote for Round the World in 80 Steves. All in favour say aye. 3, 2, 1.
Aye.
Oh, thank God. Thank goodness. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
My inaugural vote. I was so nervous.
Hello there. I am Steve McClaren, and I am very good at doing accent.
Mark, we got some engagement come in, Mark. Some engagement.
Yes, we've been engaged, this time by Bruce Murray, who lives in Penzance. He remembers the time in the 1970s when all first aid was carried out by blokes wearing tracksuits carrying nothing but a bucket of cold water and a magic sponge. So he wants to see first aid in the park replicating that 1970s total lack of any professionalism or medical know-how. He's added these blokes must be called Ron or Nobby. Yeah. In my head, they've got male pattern baldness as well. They've just got bits of hair at the side, and you don't want to get injured because the pain of whatever injury you're suffering from is not going to be as great as the shock of the cold water from Ron or Nobby.
This actually happened to me. I broke my leg playing football, and a Ron came on with a magic sponge and just and he just smashed a cold wet sponge on my broken leg.
Oh God.
And needless to say, it didn't fix it, but then he stood me up and with the help of my dad walked me off the pitch, to which they then both sort of walked away from me, and I fell flat on my face because I couldn't move my leg forward because it was broken.
Well, that's not really a fault of the sponge, is it? I mean, the sponge still did its job, and actually psychologically it was a placebo. So I think this is anecdotal evidence. It's not really scientific evidence, Ryan.
Yeah, I could also point you to plenty of occasions when, someone broke their leg on the football field. Ron ran on, smashed the sponge, and it worked. It was cured. So I think Bruce is really onto something. I think people will love that. They're howling in agony on the floor, and then they see Ron on with a bucket of dirty water. They're going to love that.
And we're going to get a lot of injuries in Footballland, aren't we? So we're going to need lots of Rons and Nobbies.
Could we cut out all the middlemen here, and could we not just sponge down everyone who enters the park at the turnstiles? Because if a magic sponge does what it says, we could actually put some, aloe vera actually has like loads of healing properties. There's a lot of plants out there that have real good, we could use the power of nature, put it in a bucket and sponge each punter down before they come into the park, and then they they won't get injured in the first place.
We're sort of low on mascots in Footballland for a theme park. We've sort of got Captain Footballland, but we've not got too many others. Is it possible that we could have a series of sort of, the Rons are actually in a giant sponge costume. They're hugging punters, and that way we could sort of surreptitiously pre-heal them of any injuries. And maybe in different areas of the park, we could have sort of different types of sponges. So in sort of Oceania Town, you've got a natural sponge. In sort of CONCACAF, you've got a kind of a contraceptive sort of anti-spermicidal or sort of spermicidal sponge, and then in
like a diaphragm.
Yeah, we're missing out on the 70s tracksuits, but who's to say we can't put a giant human-shaped sponge in a tracksuit? So
okay, cool. All right, well, I'm up for that. All in favour of Bruce Murray's magic sponge first aid, say aye. 3, 2, 1, aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, Bruce. Thank you.
Here comes Ron, here comes Nobby. And if you are injured, then that must be a good job here. 'Cause they've got a sponge that'll make you feel better. I'm not sure that's true, though at least you'll be wetter. They can fix anything from sore knee to broken spine. Look at their tracksuits and bald heads so shiny fine. There goes Ron, and there goes Nobby. You stand more chance of surviving first aid from Mr. Blobby.
Ryan, you've got one. What's your idea, mate?
Right. It is Golden Hand Solo, A Final Hope.
Wow.
that's a great title.
Right. So I was looking at the CONCACAF bit of the park, and it was sort of looking a bit sparse. We've only sort of got the Conrad 3000 in there, and it's not really that appealing. So I thought I'd sort of come up with an idea that encompassed, some of America's greatest sort of footballing offerings. Essentially, I'm combining two things in this ride, two great American things. I'm combining Hope Solo and the Great American Penalty Shootout.
Right.
Which most people, I think, will be familiar with, but if not, I'll just quickly explain what that is. MLS had a concern that the American public would not be up for draws, and so they came up with an idea for a penalty shootout at the end. Not just a regular penalty shootout. They went, whole hog. They went big on it. And essentially, the American penalty shootout is you sort of run from 35 yards, so roughly about the edge of the centre circle, at the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper sort of rushes at you, and you've got 5 seconds to score. And you can either take it round the keeper, send him the wrong way, and sort of try and chip it in. I've actually taken a few American penalties, and it is great fun. And I don't know why it didn't take on.
They're great, yes, much better.
Well, ice hockey. They looked at ice hockey, and that is such a tried and tested format in ice hockey, because there's loads of different ways to dribble in ice hockey, aren't there? You kind of slap it around and then you draw the keeper out, or the goaltender, or whatever they're called. They're just giant beekeepers. But in football, it makes you look stupid as a striker, because a lot of the ones I've seen on YouTube, they just blast it straight at the keeper.
I'll draw your attention to the traditional penalty shootout. There's a fair bit of looking stupid involved there as well, because you're even closer to the goal.
The odds are weighted in favour of the striker in the traditional penalty, whereas the American penalty mode, it's pretty even, I'd say. You've got a very good chance of saving that.
So I definitely think it's worth immortalising in Footballland, and I'm doing that with Hope Solo, one of the sort of greatest goalkeepers of a generation. She's sort of the goalkeeper equivalent of Zlatan. She's a bit mouthy, she's a bit fighty, and I think that, combined with one of the greatest inventions in football history, should make for one of the sort of most entertaining rides in Footballland. But it also could be the most violent, and I'm punters running from the centre circle at Hope Solo is sort of invariably gonna end badly, and I think we've had enough violent rides in Footballland, and so that posed me a bit of a problem. So I've been innovative, like the American penalty itself, and let's be honest, if the Americans could sort of remove the ball entirely and replace it with a giant advertising, they would. So that's exactly what I've done. The ride itself, Golden Hand Solo, A Final Hope, is essentially punters sort of wearing heavily advertised kits, you know, sort of, they look a bit like a rodeo clown, like those sort of kits in South America.
Like in South America, yeah.
Yeah, plastered in advertising. They have to deliver themselves, no ball, they have to deliver themselves past Hope Solo into the net.
The real Hope Solo or a robot Hope Solo?
The real Hope Solo. She's up for it.
Okay.
I think. I left a voicemail. I've not heard back, but...
She'll definitely be up for it, yeah. Yeah,
normally I get legal action immediately sort of posted to me, so I have not had that yet, so I'm thinking she's in.
Yeah.
Right? So, but to avoid any violence, I've turned this into a game of touch football, you know, sort of, let's call it like tag or double-handed tag. I think they have a name for this in the States as well. I think it's called two-handed touch or something like that, right?
Right.
So Hope Solo is in goal, wearing a pair of golden gloves. Yeah, she's got loads of them, and they're dripping with gold paint. And she starts on a line, you start on the edge of the centre circle, and you've got to run and get past Hope Solo and throw yourself into the net without her sort of leaving two smeary golden handprints on your heavily advertised kit.
I know a couple of things about Hope Solo, other than the fact that she's the greatest goalkeeper of her generation in women's soccer. She got in Rio 2016. Didn't she cause controversy because with the last kick of the game against Sweden, she spent about 20 minutes just changing gloves as a bit of gamesmanship. Yeah. Could we have that built into the queue? Could we perhaps have everyone in the line to occupy themselves in the queue, trying to just change gloves? So there's a big wheelie bin of gloves, and you've got to change your gloves into a matching other pair in the wheelie bin. So it's kind of like a fun thing to do in the queue.
Yeah, because what I sort of failed to mention was that there's no time limit on this. Right. You know, in the American penalty shootout, you had 5 seconds to score. 5
seconds, yeah.
I don't think that's enough for people to sort of evade Hope and throw themselves into the net. So it's an unlimited. It's a bit like when you put a 50p on a pool sort of table and just sort of wait for the bozos in front to finish.
How many people could you get through then?
Well, again, we might want a sort of height and weight factor. You know, you've got to be X weight to sort of play this ride, and maybe it changes. Maybe it's not like one of the old school sort of painted signs. Maybe it's a sort of an LCD sign that we can sort of change. If somebody's taken too long, we can all of a sudden kind of change the height and weight requirements, you know, so we add, you know, several stone to it, so it's like, right, we'll get through these quite quickly. Yeah. And we'll do it in the name of safety.
Are you allowed to leave the pitch? Because if there's no time limit and also no territorial limit, this could end up being one person dressed as an advertising hoarding being chased all around the park by Hope Solo for the entire day.
Well, you know, the broadcasters would certainly be happy with that.
True.
Whether the way I envisaged this was there was sort of no runoff areas. It's a bit like an ice hockey pitch or a sort
game of lacrosse,
or like a five-a-side kind of arena,
right? You bounce off the walls.
Maybe we paint on a crowd on a false perspective, but if you run towards it trying to avoid an enraged Hope Solo, you just run straight into a wall and, you know.
Could it be electrified so that there's like a bit of menace to it?
Even better, yeah.
That's good.
Another thing Hope Solo did was she posed with loads of anti-mosquito products just before she went out to Rio, and all of the Brazilian fans chanted Zika at her because of the Zika virus at the time. So, can we fill the place with mosquitoes?
Yes. I don't know how mosquitoes fare in a desert, so we might need to put a sort of lid on the arena, a roof.
I think you'll find it's their natural habitat, or have I got that wrong? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Yeah, they love deserts.
I'll have a look at that.
When we were talking about the height restriction element, one of Hope Solo's more infamous episodes was she was arrested for assaulting her own nephew, and her defence was, he's massive, he's taller than me. So maybe there's a kind of thing, if you're younger than her, she's allowed to beat you up, but only if you're taller than her. If you're younger than her and shorter than her, off limits.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think, you know, she's got to let off steam. and we've sort of taken away one of her greatest attributes in making it, two-handed touch.
Kicking the shit out of kids is something she's really good
I
at.
think that's fair. I think we've lost that in society. I think that we've sort of,
Never did me any harm.
No, and what better place to sort of reintroduce that than Qatar. So
I'm bang up for this. I like the idea. I know you've taken it away, but I like the idea of Hope Solo just bowling around after some randomer for an entire afternoon. Maybe there's a small door that you can unlock if you find a key on the pitch, and then you can exit the arena, and then she chases you around.
Yeah, I think. Look, I mean, a football pitch is a large space. It's sort of a 50 by sort of 100-meter space. I think you could still, unless I guess it's a bit like boxing, right? Stay out the corners or something like that.
Stay out the corners, yeah.
Or
like in FIFA International Soccer, where you ran away when the ref was about to give you a red card, and then you ran away from the ref on the Mega Drive.
Yeah, exactly like that. And I think people will want to master this.
Ryan, I'm confused by the title. It seems to have a Star Wars element to it, which has been unexplained.
A what?
A Star Wars element to the title.
Star Wars. What?
Han Solo in New Hope.
Han Solo, yeah, Han's Solo.
You've not heard of Star Wars?
Oh God. Okay, all right. Well, let's leave that.
Hold on, quickly fill me on Star Wars. What's Star Wars?
Oh God, it's got Spock in, and they beam people up, and then they go on. And there's a couple of Daleks, and it's a big waste of time, and it's got progressively worse. That's all you need to know, mate.
Is it okay? So it appears to be something quite big that I'm missing.
Yeah, no, you're not missing anything, mate.
If
anything, it's a relief that you're not putting Star Wars into it, and I'm more likely to
not having it. I grew up on Star Wars. I was raised by Han Solo.
Mate, it's not a controversial thing to say that it's complete bullshit. All right, cool. Ryan, are you...
What, you don't even like the Ewoks?
Mate, come on.
Yoda is only the greatest fictional leader of men I've ever seen.
This is weird. I seem to have sort of happened upon... It's like this is when you come across a sort of, subreddit and you're like, what's this? And, you spend the next sort of 2 years of your life sort of Googling it. Just a quick check. This Star Wars thing... is there sort of a man dressed as a rodeo clown trying to stuff himself into a net?
Yes.
Oh, there is?
Yeah, so it's perfect.
I'm not going to rise to it.
Oh.
I'm not going to rise to that.
Okay, well then maybe we need to have a think about the legals, but...
No, that's fine. Do you know what? I'm so relieved it's got nothing to do with Star Wars, because I was actually dreading listening to this because... I didn't want some analogy about Star Wars. God. Right. So thank you for doing that, mate. Thank you.
Oh, no, like a final hope was just the sort of, that's just a penalty shootout.
It's the final hope.
Yeah, and I hope Solo, has won like lots of golden gloves.
Yeah, and it's another word for masturbating. So, no, I think you've got it all. Nice one.
Okay.
All right. Let's vote on it.
Although I've never done this before. I mean, all those in hear ye, all those who want this in the park say I now.
I now. Congratulations, Ryan. It's a winner.
Ah, yes.
The Star Wars ride is in.
That was touch and go for a minute when you sort of got into that Star Wars beef. I don't know.
Right, so that is Footballland over for another meeting. We're really kind of coming along, and I'm glad to see the CONCACAF region get another showpiece. Yeah. That's two showpieces, or 1.5 really, because the Jimmy Conrad 3000. It's a mess. It's a mess. Lovely. All right then. Okay, meeting adjourned.
Cheers.
Meeting adjourned.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.
See you in a bit.
Bye. Bye.